Hey folks, Nathan P. Butler here. This is not the normal type of video you would typically see here on the channel. So before I get into any details, and I do want to go into some details as to what is going on and why I felt compelled to put this in video form, I want to just very briefly summarize what I'm going to talk about for those who will only watch maybe the first minute, just so that those people also know what it is that this video is about. I have a friend who is also a fellow writer for Warsong and who is also a publisher that I have worked with, who with his partner have been going through some rough times medically, and they have found themselves in a pretty big hole with medical debt and things like that, and they are organizing a fundraiser to try to help them sort of get their way out of that, or at least give them some better footing to try to get out of that. And this video is to provide you with information about that and why this particular thing somewhat struck home with me. If that is all you want to hear, but you do want to check out what's going on, please check the link that is in the description for more information direct from the man himself. I do want to continue on, though, and explain a little bit about what is going on, what you can do, what you can get out of it even, and why this struck home with me, and I felt the urge to do a video. But for those who don't care about that stuff, please, if you would, check out the link if you get the opportunity, and thank you for at least watching this far. If you're still with me at this point, you might remember, if you've been around for a while, whether it is with my channel here or with the stuff that I did before that, the 20 some odd years of podcasting, actually 18 I guess it was of podcasting, the 20 years working on the Star Wars Timeline Gold. If you've been around a while, you know that my wife and I got married a little over 10 years or so into me doing podcasting and whatnot in 2013. And almost immediately, before we could get her on my insurance, she went to the ER one time. And that financially hit us so hard that we found ourselves in a bit of a hole. And this is when I was still teaching face-to-face classes. The opportunities for extra pay were pretty minimal, so I was just kind of stuck with my salary. She was stuck with hers, which was quite a bit smaller than it is now, or her hourly pay and whatnot. And it was just a rough spot. And we decided to sort of swallow our pride and use GoFundMe to try to raise at least a little bit of money to help us get out of there. And it was the community from around the timeline and the podcast, and to a degree YouTube, but my YouTube channel hadn't really grown very much because at that point I hadn't started, well, it wasn't more than about a year probably, I guess, into From the Star Wars Home Video Library. But it was this community who stepped in, especially a few very specific people who helped contribute and helped us keep our heads above water, basically. And I am forever grateful for that. I never take this community for granted. Heck, I'm the kind of guy who doesn't, you saw me promoting the book recently, right? A video from the Star Wars Home Video Library, a video in Star Wars Year by Year to promote the book because of the holidays, but otherwise I generally don't promote it. I don't do a lot of self-promotion. I don't ask a lot of the audience. I'm not a smash that like button kind of guy. To me, this is a hobby that I enjoy, and I'm glad that others can enjoy because I enjoy that community. There is nothing financial coming out of selling the book or the Patreon when I was running it or the Google, YouTube ads that make enough of a dent in our finances for this to be considered something like a part-time job or something for me. But I like to think that I've built up some goodwill, and I feel like I was blown away by how that goodwill translated into people helping when we needed it. And I was very humbled by that back then. One thing I learned from that is that even if a community coming together can't pull you out of a hole completely, can't just reach down, yank you out, you're good to go, it's a hell of a lot easier to climb out of a hole if your feet can find purchase on something. And that something can be a foundation or scaffolding that the community can provide in a time of need. And in our case, that scaffolding was what made all the difference. And so now, a friend, Jim Wylder, over at Archbeetle Press, has found himself in a similar situation. And if that name sounds familiar, you might recall that I wrote a couple of novellas for the Wars TCG universe, which has now been rebranded basically as Warsong to make it easier to find and whatnot. And those are back in print. In Preludes, you have my Healers and Hunters. In Warsong Strata, you have my On Red Soil. And I had self-published a time travel novel called Greater Good that eventually got professional publishing with sort of an altered version, and I had self-published a novella called Echoes, and eventually a sort of definitive version of Greater Good, and Echoes made it into professional print. In this case, again, something I haven't really promoted much, but yes, I have these fiction works out there. And all of these are here by the grace of Jim Wylder and Archbeetle Press. He may be the single biggest fan of wars/warsong on the planet. He got the license for warsong/wars and was able to keep that going, finish out the stories, produce a bunch of new stories, put my stuff back in print, and it was my work with wars that led him to offering the professional print of Greater Good and Echoes together in one volume. He has been a great ally, so to speak, in this small publishing type of sphere. In fact, a lot of the advice on how to put together what eventually was the self-published A Saga on Home Video 2nd edition came from talking with him. And so now they're in a hole. He and his partner have had a lot of medical issues. They're in a hole. And I would like to help provide some scaffolding with this community to help them dig their way out. I myself am putting my money where my mouth is. I have contributed myself, but I felt as though just sharing a link to what he's doing to try to raise money wasn't enough. Given that I found myself in a similar situation just 11 years ago, and it was the community that helped me, I felt as though I couldn't help but pay this forward as much as I could by trying to spread the word in a way that might be a bit more visible. So what is he doing? He's doing something that is similar to a Kickstarter type thing, but he's doing it privately, not using a platform. What he's going to be doing is putting together a city module for basically those who might play Dungeons & Dragons or something else that could convert the Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition type rules for it. And he's just going to make that available for free to anyone who wants to download it. But he's asking for donations to help with the medical bills, so people can either just donate to help, and as donations rise, he'll create more stuff for this thing that he's going to put out on the internet. Or if someone wants to actually do a specific commission, they can actually submit a certain amount of a donation and have certain custom-made things built into that module that he is creating, that city that he is creating for the D&D stuff. But honestly, that is just, in essence, the creative backbone of saying, let me give something in return for the help that I am receiving. But the bulk is the need for the assistance, as it was in the case of me and my wife not all that long ago in the grand scheme of things. So if you'd like to know more, if you would like to contribute, and I hope that you do, even in a teeny tiny way, if you are able, you can find the link in the description below. It is Wylder Commissions, that is WYLDER Commissions, all as one word, .weebly, WEEBLY.com. There are options there for PayPal, Venmo, and Cash App, and great detail on all the stuff that he is trying to put together here, the commission process, and just sort of how he's trying to create something to try to give back. So it's not just, hey, please donate, but help support this in supporting me. That is him. This is a good guy. He's done good work. He has been terrific to work with, but he just at this point needs the kind of helping hand and scaffolding, so to speak, that I needed 11 years ago. So please check it out. You'll find the link in the description below, and thank you for even considering donating to help out this friend.